Now let's talk about the most interesting part, at least for me, of this lesson, which is pseudomembranous colitis. Here you can see a picture of a colon with some yellow patches, and we're going to see what this is and how this occurs. So we know that our gut contains all sorts of microorganisms, and the ones that help us are called the good bacteria or the friendly bacteria. And we call them good or friendly because they actually help us against infections by the dangerous or the bad bacteria. And they do this in two ways. The first is that they use all the resources, all the food for themselves, and do not leave anything for the bad bacteria. So you could say, in a way, the bad bacteria will starve and die. And the second way is that they actually release a substance called bacteriocin, which kills other bad bacteria. Now, the problem arises when we take a broad spectrum antibiotic, which means an antibiotic which kills many different types of bacteria. An example would be clindamycin. And what happens is that this kind of a broad spectrum antibiotic is also gonna kill our good or friendly bacteria. Now, with the good bacteria gone, it's easier for the pathogenic or the bad bacteria to grow. And this kind of an infection, which is because of the use of antibiotics, is called a super infection. And of course, because there's an infection, our immune system is gonna get activated. The infecting bacteria are gonna be surrounded by white blood cells in sort of a membrane, which is what you see here in this picture. But because these membranes are not really membranes, they are not made of epithelial cells, they are called pseudomembranes or false membranes. And this condition is actually called pseudomembranous colitis. Colitis obviously meaning the inflammation of the colon. Now, the most common bacterium which is responsible for causing pseudomembranous colitis is Clostridium difficile. In fact, it's so common that pseudomembranous colitis is also called Clostridium difficile infection or CDI. But which are the most common antibiotics which lead to pseudomembranous colitis? So here you're going to have to remember this sequence. The most dangerous or most responsible are third generation cephalosporins. After that, you have clindamycin, then fluoroquinolones, and last you have ampicillin and amoxicillin. So you're going to have to remember this order, and most importantly, the third generation cephalosporins and clindamycin are most dangerous. So what if somebody already has pseudomembranous colitis? Of course, we're not just going to leave them be. We want to treat this condition. So fidaxomicin, which is a macrolide, is actually the drug of choice for treating the superinfection. And the best thing is that it prevents the relapse of this superinfection. So with people infected with Clostridium difficile, there's a tendency of recurring infections again and again after that. Fidaxomicin is the perfect drug for this. Now, vancomycin can also be used for this condition, and this is actually the only condition where vancomycin is taken orally. Normally, vancomycin is not absorbed by our GIT. So if it's not absorbed, it's not going to reach different parts of your body. So any other infection of the body, you do not take it orally. But here, because the infection itself is in the GIT, we do not need it to be absorbed and sent somewhere else. The action has to occur within the GIT, so it's perfectly fine to take it orally in this case. We could also use a drug called metronidazole and another drug which is actually a monoclonal antibody called bezlotoximab. It produces antibodies against the toxin of Clostridium. So we could also use this. But fidaxomicin is going to be the drug of choice.